Talk Business Arkansas is brought to you by the Arkansas Farm Bureau, the Arkansas State Chamber of Commerce and Associated Industries of Arkansas, the Electric Cooperatives of Arkansas, Noble Strategies, the Arkansas Healthcare Association, and Delta Trust and Bank.
I'm Roby Brock. Welcome to today's Talk Business Arkansas update. Governor Mike Beebe issues his first veto of the 89th General Assembly. Plus, House Speaker Davy made headlines today calling for $150 million in tax cuts. That's where we begin. Speaker Carter sprinted through 3 House committees this morning, telling members that it was the start of the third quarter. He urged House members of the Judiciary, Revenue and Tax, and Public Health committees to take action on issues that would be in the best interest of the state. Carter told Revenue and Tax Committee members that he thought a $150 million tax cut package anchored in a capital gains tax cut was doable. He noted that it might start at $50 million and add $25 million in cuts per year in future years. Carter said the tax cuts were tied to Medicaid and health care reform in his eyes because, quote, the folks that are going to be paying for this are the job creators in this state and this country. And Carter gave a lengthy press conference later in the afternoon to talk about that and also his conversation with Governor Mike Beebe on Medicaid reform. The governor's back from Washington, D.C. and has met with federal officials there. Plus, Governor Mike Beebe has issued his first veto of the legislative session. What was the bill that he rejected and why? We'll find out right after this. I'm Roby Brock. This is Talk Business Arkansas.
I don't think it's going to be an easy conversation because they are very strong-willed. I think it's going to be important to us that we know that you're somewhere in a facility that looks after you, has compassion, has care, and you respect it. I mean, I'd love to look after them. I'd love to be able to take care of them, but I don't think I could. That'd be a wrong choice on my part.
Arkansas's skilled nursing and assisted living centers provide quality care for our seniors.
Farm Bureau helps protect its members in more ways than you might think. They've always been the voice of agriculture in Arkansas, working on behalf of folks like me when nobody else would. And Farm Bureau stands for the values that Arkansas families care about. They've protected my right to farm and make a living, which helps everybody who likes food on the table. You know what they say, Arkansas counts on agriculture, and agriculture counts on Farm Bureau.
The Arkansas State Chamber of Commerce and Associated Industries of Arkansas. The State Chamber AIA is the leading voice for business at the state capitol and serves as the primary business advocate on all issues affecting Arkansas employers. Our mission is to promote a pro-business, free enterprise agenda and prevent anti-business legislation, regulations, and rules. Now, more than ever, business matters. Learn more at arkansasstatechamber.com.
Well, Governor Mike Beebe created a little controversy today, not only with Lieutenant Governor Mark Darr, but also with pro-life forces in the state of Arkansas. Let's run through our political headlines. Saying he will be much more careful in leaving state government in the hands of Lieutenant Governor Mark Darr, Beebe, a Democrat, expressed his dissatisfaction with Darr, a Republican. Darr signed into law a bill, Senate Bill 131, on Friday that would make concealed carry permit holders' information exempt from public release. Darr signed the bill last week when Beebe was out of state for a National Governors Association conference. Describing Darr's actions as inappropriate, Beebe said he'll be much more cautious in the future. Darr apologized for any offense in an interview, but said he was respecting 130,000 citizens by signing the bill into law. And Governor Beebe issued his first veto of the 89th General Assembly, a bill that would restrict abortions after 20 weeks. Beebe said House Bill 1037 by Representative Andy Mayberry, the pain-capable abortion bill, violated the U.S. Constitution and would cost taxpayers money through litigation. Beebe sent a letter to the Speaker of the House of Representatives. In that letter, he said, "When I was sworn in as governor, I took an oath to preserve, protect, and defend both the Arkansas Constitution and the Constitution of the United States. I take that oath seriously." Beebe also mentioned that adoption of unconstitutional laws can be very costly to taxpayers. The bill passed with strong majorities in both chambers of the General Assembly. It only takes 50% plus one vote in each chamber to override a veto. When we return, we'll roll from the press conference that Governor Beebe had after he issued that veto letter, as well as after his meeting with legislators on Medicaid reform. Also, we'll show you some clips from Speaker Davy Carter's post-Medicaid meeting press conference. I'm Roby Brock. This is Talk Business.
Noble Strategies is a bipartisan state and federal government affairs firm with a successful track record of providing effective advocacy for business, government, and nonprofit entities. Noble Strategies provides service in areas such as lobbying, public affairs, trade association management, and marketing campaigns. Learn more at noblestrat.com.
I was looking for a bank that could best protect my finances.
It shared my passion for my business's potential.
A bank that offered investment expertise,
lending support, insurance guidance.
A bank that delivered full financial support.
That's how I found True Balance.
True Balance.
From my bank.
From my bank.
Delta Trust and Bank, the expertise to meet all your financial needs.
One of the real advantages of electric cooperatives membership is having a voice in our state's energy future.
Not a week goes by without important energy issues making headlines. These are issues that need to be discussed. And you should know that as policies are being developed, the cooperatives are looking out for our members, advocating what's best for you.
We are your friends and neighbors.
We are your local electric company.
The Electric Cooperatives.
We are Arkansas.
You guys let the TV folks in. Yes. Well, hopefully you've gotten my written explanation, which speaks for itself. I specifically wanted to point out in there and brag on Representative Mayberry's, what I call his class and the way he handled this. He did present me some additional arguments with his lawyer today. I asked, they were along the same lines of the arguments that had been made before, but we went back and I had Gallagher. I didn't go back to the AG, I already knew what he had to say about it, but had Gallagher analyze all that and came to the same conclusion. It's unconstitutional.
It's such a low threshold to override a veto. What's even the point?
Well, hopefully you send the right message, and the point is that they won't override it.
Are you talking with House members, especially such a tight?
I haven't yet. No, I haven't yet. I may talk to some of them, but basically, what I said is being circulated, and I don't know if I can say it any more eloquently than I said it in the veto message, and that is it's unconstitutional.
How does the impact take place moving forward on the veto part of the bill that is principles?
Well, that's even more problematic, obviously, than this one. But like I say, I don't ever tell you what I'm going to do until it gets on my desk, because they've got a right to vote without cover from me. I mean, they need to vote up or down what they and take whatever stance they need to take, and then I'll do what I feel I need to do when it comes time when it hits my desk. It'd be kind of naive for me not to acknowledge to you. I'm pretty sure I know what I'm going to do on a bill that's even more problematic than the one I already vetoed, but I won't tell you officially until that time.
Can you speak on your concern about possible litigation with this bill?
Yeah, that's one of the ramifications is the potential litigation and the cost to the state when you have a bill such as that. I mean, that's one of the things I said in the veto message.
Can you talk about the new promises Medicaid. You got from the feds?
Yeah, basically the feds have agreed to do what my legislators in various conversations have asked me to go ask them to do. I mean, basically they've agreed to give us about everything we've asked for. And what that really amounts to is to take the Medicaid population that would be expanded all the way from 0 to 138% on that new population, and use those the federal Medicaid dollars and purchase insurance through the exchange. And so they would be private insurance through the exchange for the entire population, and they've given us permission to do that.
And first publicly announced state to get this kind of deal, how hard was it to get this deal? What was that conversation like?
Well, we've been talking about it for a while, and I mean, this just didn't happen in between the conversation. But you know, you like to look folks in the eye and get final answers. I mean, I don't know what the other states have done. A lot of what we've asked for and a lot of what we're doing is precipitated by other states. For example, one of the things that Speaker Carter has suggested is that you put a 3-year sunset on this, so that at the expiration of the 100% federal dollars, that the state would have to re-vote to keep it going at a time when the state would have some percentage of obligation. Florida came up with that. Governor Scott asked for that, and of course that's permissible. And it's kind of obvious that that'd be permissible if you could opt in and opt out any time. It goes without saying that that would be one of the options. But specifically wanted to ask for that to get it on the front end so that folks wouldn't, I guess, take it the wrong way, that you were taking 100% federal money, and then when it came time for you to do your share, then you opted out without warning. So that's no longer a problem either.
And just to confirm, under this plan, there will be no expansion of Medicaid. The entire pool will go to the exchange, and that would be subsidized by the feds?
It is Medicaid. It's still Medicaid dollars. Right? It's still a Medicaid expansion. But the Medicaid expansion would go and be applied to the insurance that would be set up and offered under the insurance exchange that will be available to, was going to be available if you don't take Medicaid expansion, anybody between 100 and 400%.
But it won't increase the Medicaid rolls in the state.
It will be the same 250. Yeah, there's no check. It's not partial. It's not. It's the same population that would have been covered under Medicaid expansion without sending it through the exchange. There's no difference.
Do we understand correctly that the folks between 0 all the way up to 138 would take advantage of this and pay no premiums at all? That would be entirely covered by.
That's not true. There could be some co-pays between. In fact, everything already contemplates the potential for some of that. And that's part of the reason for having more control over your own exchange is that you don't have to turn around and keep asking the feds for waivers or something every time you turn around. But it's already contemplated in this whole law that you can't charge more than 2% of somebody's income. So there's a sliding scale. But you can charge some co-pays. One of the things that we've discussed is you might want to not charge co-pays on behavior you would like to promote, such as wellness and prevention, and charge co-pays on things that you're trying to discourage, like going to the emergency room. But those are options that are available to the state, and still options that will be chosen.
But co-pays are different than premiums. Under this plan, potentially folks would not be paying premiums at all.
They would be paying co-pays. That's right.
How are you hoping that this will impact health outcomes and access to health?
Well, I mean, under either scenario, it certainly increases access. It certainly creates the opportunity for more people to have health care and for more people to stay well and not get as sick and then show up in the emergency room and ask for free treatment that the rest of us end up paying for, which is what uncompensated care really does. The kicker here is that what happened on this federal program is that we're all paying for it. Whether we take it or not, we're paying our share. And you see, didn't New Jersey, Christie come out today in favor of it too? All these Republican governors who were against all this stuff to begin with have come to the realization, as Clinton says, it's all arithmetic, you know? I mean, just to borrow a line from him, we're paying for it anyway. Do we want to pay for California and New York and tell our Kansas, forget it? And obviously, you know where I stand on that. So more of these Republican governors are coming to that conclusion, and that's what they're saying. Yes, sir.
What's the difference government insurance versus pay premium for private insurance? Is that the difference?
Yeah.
The effect is the same.
Well, some providers will receive some more. It probably costs the state a little bit more money to do this because the insurance, you don't know what's going to be negotiated in the exchange. And there'll probably be different kinds of claims. But theoretically, there are going to be some higher reimbursements to some providers through the exchange, and there would be resistant Medicaid. May not be.
but there could be. But whether there is or whether there isn't, this would be a private sector, the purchase of private sector insurance through an exchange using Medicaid.
Is that a philosophical thing with some of
With some of it is. With some of it is. With some of it is.
And what about them? If there might be additional costs in 3 years to the federal government, might there be additional costs to the state after?
Possible. And you're going to have a 3-year period window to be able to assess it and determine it. And then all options will be on the table in the 4th year. They might go back to the full Medicaid instead of running through the exchange. They may keep it through the exchange. They may decide not to do anything. But that's one of the things that would be available for a legislature and another governor to decide after the first 3 years. So this would be calendar year 14, 15, 16, so starting in calendar year 17. Those all would be options on the table for the next policymakers to decide.
At any rate, some of these conservative legislators have embraced the concept of mandating or encouraging everyone to get insurance.
Well, now, John, I prefer you not stir up the hornets.
Okay. That's a good deal for insurance companies.
Theoretically, it would there'd be more insurance companies involved. Yeah.
You see this as a better deal for the state?
Look, I'm not going to weigh in on whether I prefer to do it the straight Medicaid way or do it this way. I think it's important that Arkansans who are paying for this get the benefit of it. That helps not just the people that would be covered, but help the rest of us that are carrying insurance that need to quit paying for all this uncompensated care for folks that pay nothing. I think it helps 3 million Arkansans if we do this, not just the 250,000 that would be covered. I think it helps all of us for all the reasons we've stated. And so my main objective is to make this legislature as comfortable as I can make them. And with a 3/4 vote requirement in both houses, that's a steep, steep burden, as I've been saying all along. And so if the majority would prefer to go this way to get this done, I'm happy with that. If they want to go the other way, I can live with that as well. The cost to the taxpayers for the first 3 years in the state of Arkansas is going to be the same.
How does it affect the insurance exchange going, Governor? I mean, there's going to move.
It affects it a lot, and I tried to tell, I told Senator Rayburn and the other members that the flexibility that we're talking about here and the ability to be able to encourage certain behavior or discourage other behavior in the form of some co-pays and things like that could be seriously affected by us losing control of the exchange. Here's an irony, and I told you this too. I wish they hadn't left. John, you better listen to this because this is an irony I forgot to mention. I'm talking to Butch Otter yesterday. He's the very conservative Republican governor of Idaho. And he is, I mean, he's been opposed to all of the stuff that's been going on in Washington. He said, what are you doing on an exchange? I said, well, we're doing a partnership right now, but we've got a lot of legislators who might just want to turn it back over completely to the feds. He said, that's nuts. He said, we're doing state research. We do not want the feds to. He said, what if you get too many states letting the feds do this, you're going to end up with a single payer system, and you're going to end up with federal health all the way across the board. He said, we want to keep it in the states. I said, I've been arguing that all along. So I've shared that.
Does it strengthen the state-run exchange?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you get somebody who philosophically is making some of the same arguments that the people that are making about turning it back over to the feds, and he's saying, don't do that. I mean, we need to keep it in a state exchange. So, I mean, those arguments are those things have been talked about. Here's the other case. We could actually lower taxes by keeping it in a state exchange.
Do we still have that option?
It has passed for the first year. But, you know, you can opt in and opt out. So that decision for calendar year 2015 would have to be made by November of this year.
Logistically, is the exchange going to be able to handle all of a sudden now having an additional 200, 250,000?
Oh, yeah. No, well, the exchange hadn't even been before. You don't even do those bids out until May, I think it is. I think the deadline's in May to structure that for the bids, for commencement of the exchange in January.
So you don't have concerns about pressure put on the exchange from having an additional?
No, you're just going to have more insurance companies, presumably, or at least more options and more opportunities for those companies to be bidding. And you'll probably have several different plans.
So what's your political strategy to get to a supermajority of votes?
Just tell the truth. It works.
You think the votes
It's
are there?
arithmetic.
Do you think the votes are there? Now with this breakthrough?
No, I don't know where the votes are. I haven't talked to all of them. And I didn't get any commitments or ask for any commitments. What I got was, thank you, you've done what we asked you to do. You provided answers that we asked you to provide. We appreciate what you've done. Let us go talk about it.
But are you
So
feeling
that's
more,
where we are.
Are you feeling more encouraged after talking to them?
Some of them reacted with body language and with some of the comments in a way that was favorable. But I mean, you know, that you can't tell. There's no way to tell. We got to go.
As a sunset speaker, sunset provision after 3 years, is that going to be part of legislation? Is that something that you have to have as part of the deal?
Charlie, I think from what I know today that it has to be, and here's why. And again, I'm still processing all this. This is all news to me, new information to me. But you know, one of my initial questions was, you know, so how is this going to change the state's obligation under this plan? And part of that depends on the cost of these insurance policies, and a part of that, you know, equation is the deductibles of the plans that are set. And a further part of that equation is, you know, we have to go through a bidding process, and the insurance companies need to know how many are in and what deductible levels. So inherently, I don't think we'll have that information for some time in the future, maybe even up to 6 months to a year that we're still working towards. So I think for me, I mean, there's no way I'm going to vote for something in perpetuity and not knowing what it's going to cost. And I think everybody at this point, at least today, would, after thinking through it, would realize that, you know, we're not going to know that answer. So I think I don't see any scenario where we don't have some sort of sunset.
Did the feds put any sort of ceiling or limit on insurance company plans for this population, or are they just going to be able to charge what they want and the feds pay the full tab? How's that going to work?
I'm not sure, and that came up, and Joe Thompson had a little information on that, but I honestly forgot what he said. That was some kind of sidebar on that.
On the cost side, it seems like everyone agrees that this probably will cost the feds a little bit more to pay for private plans for folks instead of Medicaid. It follows then that down the road, if Arkansas is potentially paying 10%, it will cost Arkansas more. Do you have concerns that this move is going to end up just costing even more?
I've always been concerned about what it's going to cost the state. I don't know what it's going to cost, and you know, I said last week, I think the reality, if everybody was being honest with each other, is nobody knows how this is going to shake out, and I don't know. But you know, I know that only goes further to your question about making sure that you were not unconditionally obligated forever. I think in 3 years or whatever the sunset provision is, that we'll know. We'll know what these exchanges are going to be cost, what the cost of running the exchanges are, you know, what the premiums are costing, are people happy with their coverage, and all these other things that we need to know, and we can take it back up. I think that's the reality of where we are.
Do you think you need to rethink whether or not you do the health exchange as a state-federal partnership or a state-run exchange?
Maybe, and that, and let me clarify that. The governor, he talked about healthcare exchanges, and to make sure I was clear on what options were on the table today, I asked that question, and the answer was, you know, we are approved for this plan with a state-federal partnership exchange. That as of today, we're not approved for this plan in a federal partnership exchange. And there was some discussion about that, and how we contemplate how the exchanges are set up and the pros and cons, but it was very brief discussion, and that's part of the things that the membership and the governor are going to have to circle back up and work on. But you know, if it's, and it appears to be that may be a condition of the plan that's being proposed from you know, or consented to from Washington.
So if it's stripped back to federal only, the deal's off deal with it as often.
It's just not approved today, I think, and this would be a better question for the governor, but it's my understanding that he would have to go back and make that request.
How optimistic are you right now that there's a possibility of green deals?
I think we're moving the ball down the field. I mean, there's a lot of, there's still some devil in the detail that we need to figure out, and I'm more worried about the timeline, than anything. I want to make sure there's a lot of procedural things we've got to figure out. I mean, what are the deductibles? When do the bids have to be put out for the insurance companies? Some of these things I just don't know the answer to. And my question to Mr. Allison, Mr. Seeley was, hey, can we get this done or addressed during the session? Because look, nobody wants to come up here for a special session, including myself. So, and the answer was, the governor said that his staff would work day and night to get the information to membership, and I will commit that we will work just as hard to analyze the information and get this resolved. I want to get this resolved in some form or fashion before the end of the session, and I think what we were able to, information that was received today helps us accomplish that.
You canceled the consulting contract. Who is it with?
I don't know, but I'll tell you, I just don't know who it was.
Is there any financial penalty?
No, I never signed it. I mean, it's just pure luck, because I told Gabe today that that contract, I wanted that contract signed and in the works today, and I got lucky. So sometimes you get lucky, and I got lucky. So, it is what it is.
Speaking of contracts, you have the one for the big river storm.
Got it, and I've got handouts for you all, and that's got the information on it. So it's right there. It should be everything you want to know.
Can I ask you about the governor's veto today? How likely is it you think the House will vote over it?
Yeah, I don't know. It's been a busy day, and I've talked to Representative Mayberry for just in passing as I've left the meeting with the governor on health care, Medicaid. So, that's something we'll have to circle back up on. I don't know the answer to that.
Well, it passed pretty soundly in the House. Do you think there's any reason to think there wouldn't be enough?
I told Sarah that I don't know. I mean, there's got a lot of votes. I would suspect that that there's a decent chance of being overridden. I understand he wrote a letter and explained why he was being told. I haven't seen any of that stuff. I don't know how the membership would take that. I mean, look, the governor, people take him. People respect his opinion. Some of us just see what he has to say.
You've not been officially notified of it, right? It happens tomorrow. The veto.
I have not seen anything, John. And
so it would be read tomorrow. At that point, somebody could procedurally move to override it at that time.
Yeah, I would seriously doubt that would happen tomorrow. But I mean, I have not heard any of that. But yeah, I have not been notified of it. We will get a governor's letter and it goes to
It is in the clerk's office.
It's in the clerk's office, okay.
Would the letter have to be in the desk 48 hours?
I don't know the answer to that. I don't think so.
Can you tell us about your decision this morning to kind of visit with committees and roll out your agenda, specifically with taxation?
Sure. I'm ready to start talking about the budget and taxes and Medicaid and healthcare and steel project, and I mean that's why I did what I did. I'm trying to encourage conversations in those areas, and that was the purpose of my efforts this morning. So I mean, it was that's why I did that.
How do we pay for $150 million in tax cuts?
Well, we have a $300+ million surplus coming, and we have $220 million conservative general revenue forecast. So, I have a lot of confidence in my budget chairman. I've got a lot of confidence in the budget chairman on the Senate side, and I've got a lot of confidence in Representative Collins and Representative Files. And I can say that we will proceed in a reasonable fashion. If you heard what I said today, I said up to $150 million, and then I asked to send that in different to prioritize those in different tranches, in a $50 million priority and a $25 million thereafter. So, this is going to begin those discussions, not only within the House membership, but also within the Senate. So, it's time to start talking about these things.
What is the connection between the capital gains tax and Medicaid?
Well, just what I said this morning. I think that should be part of the debate. And, at the end of the day, it's job creators and businessmen and women that are going to ultimately have to pay the ticket for this. And I think we need to discuss it. And I plan on at least putting that in the debate.
Is it capital gains and Medicaid are the same because one has to pass with the other two?
Not necessarily. I don't know. I just think we were going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it in conjunction and see what the membership desires.
What do you mean by the job creators? Obviously, expansion is largely paid for via cuts to hospital reimbursements, that kind of thing. There are some taxes. Are you referring to the tax portion of what pays for Obamacare?
I'm saying long term, that somebody's got to pay for all this money we're spending. And I don't think there's any arguing that economic activity and increasing wages and increasing the number of jobs we have in the state and the country doesn't affect poverty levels and therefore Medicaid calculations. So look, I just think we need to talk about it. We need to talk about it in conjunction with this, and that's why I mentioned it this morning. And I look forward to hearing feedback from others on it. But we're going to talk about it.
So you're proposing $150 million in just capital gains taxes, or are there other types of taxes?
No. All I asked this morning was for the committees to begin the process of prioritizing their tax bills. And I told the committee this morning, if we passed every tax bill on the table, I think it's over $2 billion. And I told them they had they had a huge responsibility to manage that process in committee and not get all of those bills to the House floor. There are members that would prefer that number be much, much larger than what I said this morning. And there are others that prefer that number to be much less than what I said this morning. So my goal today was to put that out there and for us to start talking about it. Now, what makes that up and how much ultimately is agreed to will be a combination of a lot of things. And we'll go through the committee process, and the Senate will be going through the same efforts, and we'll reach some sort of conclusion one way or the other by the end of the session. But we're going to start talking about that stuff now.
But you're not saying what within that you're not saying what the priority.
No, I support Representative Collins, and I think some part of that needs to be adjusting those income tax brackets. I've been saying that forever. I think they're unfair. Where ultimately he falls down on that, we'll have to see. I know he's still working on some numbers back from DF&A, but I would certainly want that to be part of it. But I'm sure the Senate has things they would like to include in those numbers, and there are other House members that have other bills that are important to them. So we'll have to go through the process to see how much we can do in a reasonable way.
You've been a game coach today. Kind of give me your 30-second wrap-up of where you think Medicaid stands, your understanding of what the Medicaid discussion was today.
Much like a lot of these other issues, I used the metaphor this morning that you had halftime this weekend and it's third quarter today, and that's what I feel like on tax cuts. We're probably a little further down the line on Medicaid now with this information, but we're in the second half, and it's time to start conducting these big ticket business items and make sure we get all this done before the end of the session. So I'm encouraged that we're moving the ball down the field.
How much of a priority is it going to be with these tax cuts, trying to kind of spread the benefit among different income groups? Specifically, capital gains tax has some will say is going to be a kind of windfall for the wealthy.
Let me take capital gains. I've asked this morning for that conversation to be taken separate and apart from that other. And, you know, I think that we could spend a lot of time talking about, you know, the pros and cons of or why that makes sense, dealing with that when we're, you know, kind of increasing some of these other entitlements. On the other issues that are on the table, on, you know, on tax cuts, I mean, look, our income tax brackets are not fair. I mean, we're $12,000 or $13,000 from, you know, being in poverty to being in the highest tax bracket in our state. They need to be changed. Not fair. I mean, it would be. We're talking about right now putting, you know, hundreds of thousands of people in that, when on one hand would qualify for Medicaid and federal subsidized insurance plans, and they would be paying at the highest tax bracket. It's not fair. So, I mean, I want that to change, and I'm not. That's working people. That's people. Those teachers, and firefighters, and I mean, that's people. $30,000. I mean, you know, it's. I'm not talking about. There's going to be a lot of effort put into that. I mean, that's a long answer to your question, but there's going to be a lot of effort put into that. And the other capital gains, I mean, again, that's going to be a separate conversation, and I think that needs to be taken in context of what we're doing on the healthcare issue.
Did you discuss that with the governor
today? No. No, not today. I'm sure he'll be calling me down there soon on that.
Yeah, he has a little different view about the income tax anyway, doesn't he? Or taking money out of the treasury.
I'm pretty sure I don't know because I haven't spoken to him, but I think that's the case.
Now, does Charlie Collins want to change the rates in a way that lowers the top rate?
I think so, John, a little bit. We talked about that briefly this morning, and I know he sent a new proposal down to the Bureau to run some numbers on. Haven't seen that, or the results of that, but he's tweaking it as we go along, and I don't know where he's landed, but it would come down. I understand as his thoughts today, it would come down over some number of years in the future. He would have to give you more details than that.
It's a phase-in.
Yeah.
Just to clarify, some of that can come from the surplus, you're saying? It's paying for some of that cut.
From the surplus? No, I didn't say that. I just, you know, there's a lot of moving parts to right now with the budget and the surplus, and again, we're not going to do anything that's unreasonable, and we can't afford. I don't know of any scenario today where, and I may be wrong, and I may eat my words, but I don't see any scenario today where anybody gets any less money than they got last year. And I'm talking about our line items that we're funding. And you know what? That's not that bad in today's, in this world. And just to stay, you know, I mean, we're not going backwards. And it's time to start. It's a perfect time to start looking at ways to put some more money back in the pockets of the taxpayers. But I don't see that other scenario of anybody getting cut. We have a lot of work to do. We got to figure out how we're going to allocate that surplus. What we're going to do with the proposed GR growth. And ultimately, we'll have to propose the governor's going to tell me, well, Davy, I've given you my balanced budget proposal, where's yours? And Lamoureux's. Well, we'll have to do one, and we're prepared to do that. And we're not prepared today, but we will be prepared to do that.
The 150 still has to come from somewhere, even if you're not cutting a program. Where I realize you don't know exactly what that's going to be. What are you thinking about?
I'm not going to say today.
Okay.
The last question.
The governor says it always comes down to higher ed, but everybody else gets theirs, and higher ed gets the dregs whenever there's good. Do you agree that has to be?
No. I mean, I think the governor's got $10 million in increased higher ed proposal. That's across the board. Does it have to come from there? No. I mean, you look at where a lot of this other money's going, and it's going into to DHS, and we've got to analyze that. That number's come down drastically, and I think we've got a lot of members that are that have some plans on digging in to see where we can find some further cost savings in that area. And that's going to be just part of the entire thought process as we go forward.
Why have two separate companies look at the steel mill?
Because we don't want to get it wrong, and I'd rather have two and say we overkilled it than have one and have you asking me next year why we only had one. So I think it's.
But they're looking at different things.
Well, the part of the membership, the vast majority of the membership wanted to make sure, as part of our analysis, that we did an industry analysis on what the demand for the product being produced is. And one of those companies is going to do that, along with a lot of the other analysis. And then one of the companies is simply going to review what Grant Tennill's office did. So, it may be a little bit overkill, but I'd rather have more than less. This is the first time we've done an Amendment 82 project, and I'd rather have more than less. I mean, I don't want to be Monday morning quarterbacking, so we're gonna try to get as much information as we can. I'm using a lot of football analogies. All right.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thank y'all. All right.